All right, hey guys, my name is Wesley Bolin, and I'll actually be doing this interview by myself because I was told that my partner had actually recently dropped out of this class. But I did my interview with the Daily Bread. So, the Daily Bread, if you've never been there or heard of them, is a restaurant that's located right in downtown Boone. It's on King Street. It was founded in 1984, and it's a restaurant that it's like a cafeteria style restaurant. I wouldn't call it if you go there, it wouldn't be a heavy meal necessarily. They serve because the kinds of foods they serve are sandwiches, salads, subs. They also have a little bar section there which serves beer and wine. And they're a local chain restaurant, so they use a lot of local ingredients. But more about the interview. I interviewed Zach Barnett, and he's not officially a manager. And I say that because he is a manager in the sense that the tasks assigned to him are that of a manager that would classify him as a manager because he's managing his coworkers, people who work under him, giving them tasks to do for the day, organizing their schedules. But he told me the Daily Bread doesn't like to assign official titles so that they can accomplish more tasks during the day because they can do a lot more different tasks, which I'll get into a little bit later. So the first question I asked him is, how did you get into a management position? And he started working at the Daily Bread 10 years ago, right after he graduated from right here at Appalachian State. But he was washing dishes there. And then he worked up the chain. He would as soon start working at a cash register. A few years later, would become get work as a waiter. And it was interesting. He said he originally never had any plans on becoming a manager when he first started working at the Daily Bread, but over the years working there, he wanted to be more have more input for himself to help the company. So that's why he pursued becoming a manager. So the second question I asked him is, what are some of your daily managerial tasks? So, like what I said earlier, and this is what I was getting to when I said I'd get into it later, he has a lot of different tasks to do. And the interesting thing is they really vary by the day. But um, one that stays the same on a routine basis for him is that he has to put in the orders for the food, beer and wine, other drinks, the kegs that are all coming into Daily Bread, and then he has to check all these orders that are coming in across the country and make sure that they're of good quality and that they're getting the proper amounts. Some days he'll have to wait tables or clean the tables or clean other parts of the restaurants, which he said that it really depends on how many people they have working on the day. But the other task that does stay the same for him on a consistent basis is at the end of each workday, after they've shut down and they're closing up the restaurant and people are starting to leave, he'll hand all of his coworkers their checks for the day. So the next question we went into was, how would you describe your managing style? So he was more laid back of a manager, but he emphasized to his coworkers the importance of executing their jobs properly. The interesting thing that he said is that the training program at the Daily Bread for training rising employees is that the veteran employees, which he would be a veteran since he obviously worked there for 10 years, but the veteran employees will train the newly hired employees. And that's about 2 3 week process, and they just want to get them ready for the jobs before they give them more on their plates, in which they would officially become workers for the Daily Bread. But during this training period, he wants to really emphasize to them the importance of execution because he believes if it's emphasized early on, then they'll be doing their jobs properly and there won't be a need to really be hands-on and interfere with their work. The only time he does get hands-on or heavily involved with his employees is if it causes the Daily Bread to lose money in any way, but he told me that that's rarely happened. So the next question we went into is, how important are interpersonal relationships with the employees to you? And he says it's the most important thing to him just because the Daily Bread wants to serve, obviously make more money for their own company so they can grow, but they want to have an impact on the community, and you can't really do that unless you have good relationships in the office with your coworkers and the people up top and the people who are coming in to eat there on a daily basis, your customers. And but he maintains good relationships with all of his employees, but he doesn't let it get him distracted from his work. He made it clear that, look, um, I'm here to work and to help this company. I'm not here to socialize necessarily, but he doesn't do that while, just completely isolating himself from his employees. So it's just a balancing act for him, but he does it for the better for his coworkers and the Daily Bread. But the other thing that he did add was that he believes it's important for all of his employees to have communication skills in general, and this really falls back onto interpersonal relationships because it's hard to communicate properly with your employees, he said, unless you have some sort of a relationship with them. So after I interviewed him, there's a number of things I came to conclusions about. Obviously, I've said this a million times, but he's a hands-off manager. But I didn't view it as a bad thing. I think sometimes it can be, or it can be interpreted as that because you might be seen as lazy or being complacent, not having a lot of passion for your job. But what I saw it in him was in leading by example. He, like I said earlier, didn't want to become a manager at first. He worked at the dishwashers with washing the dishes, then under the cash register and waiting tables. So he was really empathetic with employees. He's been in their shoes. He views himself as one of them, just helping them, not as someone being over them and condescending, looking down on them, barking orders at them. Um, but he also has a lot of care for the Daily Bread, which is why he turned to this manager position.